All the stupid things I say and do and never really stop when I should never have begun. I really ought to drop it, but it's faster when you don't even have time to stop and think about the things that you were saying, cause they never really matter. But it's empty spaces in the air. Fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. Oh no, all the million little empty spaces in the air. Fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. Oh no. Oh no, but
Yeah, hello, it's me again. Welcome to the show, Keep It Vegan. My name's Ben, you know all that stuff. Just a quick one really, I didn't want to do a full video on this because it's I've kind of talked about the individual constituents to this story a few times, and it would mostly be kind of retreading old ground to kind of talk about it as a news story. But yeah, I just kind of want to kind of catch it as it passes through the social zeitgeist and just have a bit of a chat about it. So I'm not going to do a full video. I'm just going to talk into the microphone like I'm doing now. So currently looking at the Metro story, but I've read a number of different newspapers, predominantly online now, kind of articles from different sources about the same story. To get, I'd say, both sides of the story. The story says the same. It's mostly the kind of opinions surrounding the fact that changes as is normal. Sorry, just having a quick drink of my health drink that is absolutely not whiskey. So what basically happened is there's a restaurant in Canada called Antler. It's a traditional kind of seasonal game restaurant. They do kind of boar and venison and rabbit and all that kind of stuff. They've been campaigned in the past by animal rights activists, and that has led to the restaurant providing some vegan options. Hooray, that's a win. But the campaigning has continued in large part because they still serve things like foie gras, which is in the realm of the cruelty of animal agriculture. That's kind of, it's pretty far down the scale. Foie gras is pretty fucking evil. If you've not seen how it's made, then definitely worth giving it a look. Especially if you can still consume it, because you have an obligation, you have a responsibility to know where your food comes from. So this story, bunch of activists turned up to protest the restaurant again, holding signs. It's all peaceful, legitimate protest. They're stood outside the restaurant. And the chef, in this case, responded by grabbing a bunch of venison, a bunch of deer carcass, taking it over to the window directly next to where the campaigning was happening on the outside, and then prepared and then ate the deer directly in front of activists. And it's been seen as him kind of taunting, mocking them, and it's kicked up a bit of a fuss on both sides. There are plenty of restaurants who've kind of mentioned things in solidarity. There are blogging websites, there are people in newspapers that have said, you know, this is great, it's counter-protest, you shouldn't have any ethical problem with it if you think the protesting in the first place is fine. People are saying, jump out here, support these people, come and eat this food because it's the best game you'll find in Canada or whatever. And it's, as you can imagine, there's a bit of a show on the other side as well. A lot of vegans saying this is disgusting. In part because, I mean, obviously, when it comes down to it, the vegans in this case are right. They shouldn't be serving meat. It's cruel. It's bad for people. It's just the worst. So stop doing it. But for this individual, for this chef to basically come out using a piece of deer, and then preparing it and eating it in front of activists, that's horrific. Because in that case, it is using the deer as the punchline. It's using the deer as the weapon. It's kind of trying to think of an analogy that A, makes sense, because I have a habit for coming up with random metaphors, and B, that isn't going to set people off. It's almost like, it's not, but it's almost like, but it isn't, but it kind of is, after a custody battle where one parent loses custody of a child and the other parent has like full 24-hour custody, that parent then using the child to rub it in the other parent's face. Like, we disagree with you doing this. I can see that you disagree with it, and here's me smearing what you disagree with all up in front of your face. And it does make the animal the punchline. It does make the animal the weapon, the object in this. And it's disgusting. It is really, really immoral and unethical, and it's gross. And to see people flock to the restaurant's defence saying that's equal protest. This is if you've not seen it yet, it's actually uploading. I don't know if you can see. I'll probably trim the tab out of the video, but it's actually uploading now. My latest video is a bit of a rant talking about these kind of the safe space equality of opinions, and this exactly buys into it, which is kind of why I want to talk about it. It's this: you have a right to protest saying you don't like meat. I have a right to eat the meat and counter protest by shoving it in your face. It's like, no, because your opinion when it comes to animal agriculture, for example, is not the same as your opinion on a film. Everyone is entitled to an opinion about a movie. I like this film, I don't like this film, here's my reasons why either way. When it comes to this, there is a direct implicit victim. Like, your actions have a victim. You can't steal something from a person. It's not your right, it's not your choice to steal another person's property. Because it's not right. There is a victim in that situation. So, in this case, it's not a fair counter-protest to sit there and kind of slaughter the deer in front of, well, not slaughter the deer, but prepare the deer and then eat it in front of the activists. The police came. They spoke to the individual who then stopped doing it. It was all live streamed on Facebook, but then Goldberg. And yeah, it's just, I think, if anything, this is a perfect example of that cognitive dissonance. It's, one side sees it as two equal parts, the other side sees it as a horrific crime, an absolute travesty, and then that then being used as a weapon against them. Do you know what I mean? It's not, this isn't I like Avengers, I don't like Avengers. This is, you cannot be slaughtering these animals and eating them because it's bad for you, it's bad for the planet, and it's horrific for them. And then using that animal's carcass as a joke to mock the activists. It's just, it's wrong. It's horrific. So yeah, it is a particularly unpleasant story, I have to say. It kind of popped up. It's probably got a few people talking about it. It is an unpleasant situation, and unfortunately, I think it kind of showcases that point that I was talking about recently about promoting vegan products in non-vegan places, like the non-vegan motivation for a business owner to provide vegan products. This restaurant provided some vegan products, pardon me, on the understanding that it's only going to be good for them, it's going to open up to more custom, it's a response to any previous protests or whatever. But that's not the restaurant adopting a more vegan attitude. It's still a game restaurant. They still serve rabbit and duck and deer and boar and bison and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just a case of, we now do some vegan options, so feel free to come on in and you can have a family come in and then the one person will get to eat a vegan option, because in a lot of cases that's still not good enough. Especially kind of serving something like foie gras, that's pretty horrific. That is a horrifically sourced food, if that's the phrasing you want to use. So yeah, it's interesting. There's a number of interesting kind of bits and pieces to this story. As I say, I don't really have any new information to impart. I've not really got anything to add beyond what the kind of news outlets are saying. Really, I can just offer my opinion on the situation, and that's that if this is not a fair counter-protest situation. This is not your opinion and my opinion, your right, my right. this isn't one of those situations. This is like opinions when it comes to political choices or your political affiliations. It's not an equal thing because there are direct implications for other people. And in this case, an animal, a deer. And I used to, when I was younger, I used to work at a farm park. And although, believe me, I regret a lot of the stuff that I kind of witnessed from back then. It's deer. I loved it. They're a big part of my childhood. That's the why I chose the stag for the Keep a Vegan logo. It's a fantastic staple of British wildlife. Without wanting to sound like a UKIP member. And yeah, it's just they're beautiful animals. They're very social. They're surprisingly clever, and then they'll go and do something stupid. But you know, they're doesn't really matter. They could be absolute and it doesn't matter because it's not their life. It's not their lot in life to be our torturous playthings. It's not their lot to be massacred and have their corpses mutilated and kind of shoved about by people to rub it in other people's faces. That's up. So this guy, his restaurant. They have vegan options, but don't go there. Obviously, I'm not going to because I'm in the UK, not Canada. But if you are Canadian and you're out there, you're watching this, don't go to Antler. There's probably plenty of other brilliant places you can go, or start your own restaurant or food outlet that serves vegan options. And hopefully, good old co-owner and chef Michael Hunter will have just basically himself out of his business. As always, check the website for some pretty awesome sources, I guess, scientific stuff. It's also, we've got the comics on there, we've got the slides on there, lots of kind of interesting resources. I'm adding to it all the time. New videos come out on the channel. As I say, there's one coming up that's being uploaded now, although technically this will probably get uploaded after that, so figure that one out if you want. And yeah, as always, save the planet, save the animals, save yourself, go vegan.